Hey everyone, so today we are going to be working with Bow Bunny and we are using the collection called Family Heirlooms, and we added on some layered chipboard, some brads, some cardstock stickers, some chipboard stickers, and then I just individually purchased some double-sided pattern paper. I also added in 4 sheets of cardstock. Mine happened to be from Stamping Up in Petal Pink, Crumb Cake, and just a black cardstock. And they don't really have collection kits or paper pads that I know of, so I just kind of hand-picked some of the double-sided papers I think that I would want. Because I order online, so it's hard to tell when you're not seeing them in person. So I just kind of bought what I needed. So here there's a 2-of-1 sheet. So I pulled one of them out because I wanted to use the back side of it for the journaling card pieces. And then what we have left, I need 4 background pages and 2 accent papers. So today I wanted the pages to have a vintage feel, so I want everything to sort of blend together really nicely. I don't want anything to like pop off the page too much. I want everything to be really subtle and muted. So I'm gonna go ahead with this flower print as my first accent paper. And this paper, to me, the background, to me it looked like a background paper just with the patterning on it. And normally I love stripes. But I didn't want something that was so bold because of the type of pages I wanted to make today. And the back side of this striped paper has, I think, a really pretty subtle background sort of a look, especially with some of those distressed edges. Again, the same thing with this paper, has some of those distressed edges that I think would work really nicely. Now, I think choosing between these last 2 for an accent paper, I'm going to go ahead with this one because the back side could be used as an accent as well, and I like that it's a very neutral color instead of like that pink color. It would have just been too much pink, I think. Another thing that I wanted to note too is that it seems like in this collection you kind of have like your pink version, but you also have like a bluer kind of version of the same type of paper. So if you are working on more of a masculine project, you could easily swap out all of the pink papers in this collection with a blue version, and you can even swap out some of the florals for some more neutral type papers as well, and just swap out the pink cardstock for a different color. We have cutting diagrams in my tutorial videos, and I just kind of want to let you know how to read them. So there's the number in top in inches, and that's going to be the size that we're going to cut that cut piece into. And there's a number below it in a circle. So a lot of the times we're making 4 pages or 6 pages when we're using these cutting diagrams, and all these cut pieces can sort of get very disorganized. So that number inside of the circle there represents a pile that you're going to put that cut piece into. So for a 4-page tutorial, we're going to make 4 piles. And for a 6-page tutorial, we're going to make 6 piles. So the numbers are going to be either 1 through 4 or 1 through 6. So page 1 is going to have all the cut pieces that have a circle with the number 1 inside. And so on for the 4 or 6 pages. So now we're going to go ahead and take all pieces of our cardstock, and we are going to cut 1 inch in, 1 inch from the top, and 1 inch from the bottom. And we're going to make a straight line on all 4 sides of each of these pieces of cardstock. What we're basically doing is cutting a 10 by 10 inch square out of the center of this piece of cardstock. The border is going to be put into our pile, and the center, the 10 by 10 inch center, is going to be put to the side, and we're going to be cutting it with another cutting diagram as soon as we're done cutting out all of these squares. So what I realized after I cut the first back set of my background pages here is that instead of cutting 1/2 inch on 2 sides, what I would do is I would cut 1/4 inch off on all 4 sides. That way we had like an equal amount of distressing around the perimeter of the background paper. Okay, so here I'm just cutting up I guess the equivalent of a journaling card paper that Bo Bunny offered with this collection. And if you looked back on the papers that I showed at the beginning of the video, there was actually 2 of these papers. So the second paper like this was intended to be used on the back side of it as a background paper. So as you guys know from previous videos, I order all of my scrapbooking stuff online, so it's a little bit harder to plan out because you're not seeing everything in real life. So what makes it a little bit harder without buying like a 12 by 12 collection kit that has like 12 papers in it is that with something like this is that I have to buy the papers that I think I'm gonna want, and try not to be wasteful and buy too many. So you know, putting this sort of collection together just using individual papers is a little bit harder just because you don't want to overbuy and you don't really see things in person and in real life. So this collection I seem to luck out. So I'm really happy with the papers that I chose, and I kind of knew the color scheme that I wanted to go with. So it worked out really nicely. I will post on my blog post at www.simplecutcreations.com. I will post the individual sheets that I did use with this collection. So if you are interested in the specific papers and want a breakdown of them, they will be there. And so today I just kind of wanted my pages to be maybe a little bit more vintage. And I know like a real vintage, like my idea of like really vintage kind of layouts have a lot of like distressing and almost like more of like a mixed media type of scrapbooking where there's a lot of texture and stuff like that. But I really try to work with, you know, the embellishments that the company puts out. I just find it's a lot more simple than trying to pull pieces from everywhere and create that way. And I think the people that can do that, and the layouts that some people create with mixed media and a lot of different techniques and just shopping around and getting, you know, little embellishments from this company and embellishments from that company and paper from this company, I think those pages are stunning and they're beautiful, and I'm really jealous of what they create. For me, I knew that like I like that I can keep my layouts a little bit more simple in their design, because I really did find that all those things sort of add up, and when the possibilities sort of are endless like that, it can get really, really overwhelming. And I always found in my scrapbooking, at the minute I got overwhelmed, I kind of just stopped, or I never ended up finishing the page, or I just had so many options and so many choices, and sometimes it didn't necessarily always work out, or I just was always second guessing if it could have been better all the time. And that's not to mention too that how much the cost can really add up per page. So I think no matter how you do it, you just kind of gotta do what you love, and remember that scrapbooking is not about the actual design of a page. It's about the story you're trying to tell. And especially it seems like with more of these vintage kind of papers, maybe where you're working with really, really precious pictures that you know, are once in a lifetime. So it's always about the story, not necessarily about the design. And so when I think to myself about wanting to do some vintage type of pages, I want to keep everything sort of more in the neutral realm of colors, or really, really subtle colors. So, you know, I always picture vintage being like less bright and more like regals and softer colors. So that's kind of what I went with when I picked my cardstock today, is I wanted something that was going to coordinate well with the papers, but wasn't going to overwhelm the layouts with the color. So that's kind of how I made my choices for cardstock today. And I chose this cutting guide because I wanted some smaller photo areas with more photos on my pages. And I do hope to come up with more new cutting guides. I really hope to have some of the ones I'm currently working on out already, but it's just 2020 hasn't been the year we expected it to be. So yeah, so we're just kind of riding out the storm, I guess you could say. So here I'm using this chipboard frame, and I just put some spare cardstock behind it just so that it wasn't see-through. And I'm not sure, to be honest, what I want to do with that spot yet. I'm thinking I might put another photo area there instead of a journaling area. I think if I would have put it as a journaling area, I would have put like a lighter colored cardstock in there, but it would work too to put journaling in with that color. And again, just my typical style, I guess, of embellishing. I'm just kind of creating clusters and sort of framing the embellishments around my photo areas. So using the photo area as sort of my starting point and then working my way outwards. I really want to thank you guys for watching today, and we will see you next week with another video. And I hope you guys are all staying healthy and safe, and I hope everyone has a great weekend.